Hey, how you doing? This is Sarah. Today we're going to put together a recipe. It's not a prep necessarily, but having inexpensive, healthy food on the go is helpful towards saving money, towards getting the right mindset, and just enjoying your day and getting a lot of the necessary energy you need. So what I'm making is baked oatmeal breakfast bars. 5 cups of oats. I've got about 6 bananas, which mashed up should be about 2.5 cups. Strawberries, blueberries. You're going to need vanilla. I've got some local honey here, chia seeds, a little bit of salt. I use coconut oil, but you could replace it with any other kind of oil. I'm cooking stuff here. So what we're going to do is we're going to mix the dry ingredients, and we're going to mash up the bananas, put it all together, and then in the end we're going to put it on a cookie sheet, about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick, pop it in the oven. Cut it up into bars, keep what we want in the fridge, and freeze the rest. Start with 5 cups of oats. I use rolled oats. You can use whatever kind of oats you want. Just going to bake. It doesn't need to necessarily be, it doesn't matter if it's instant or whatever you need to use. I'm just going to put in a little pinch of salt, about a teaspoon. I really like chia seeds. I think they're really good for you. They add a nice taste. I put in a good healthy chunk of chia seeds. They'll mix in real nice with the oats. And that's about it for the dry ingredients. So I'm going to set this aside right now, and I am going to mashing the bananas. You really want to use overripe bananas. These, when I bought them, weren't quite ripe enough. They're still not exactly where I wanted them to be, but they're good enough. Something I did, I found that if you want to keep bananas ripe, you wrap saran wrap around the stems, which keeps the oxygen out, keeps them fresher longer. So I thought I'd try the opposite. I cut off every stem, I separated them, I cut a bit off the end to speed up the ripening process, and it helped. It actually advanced the ripening probably about 1/3 as fast. These are just barely ripe enough to do this with. It's not going to affect the taste or the health or anything like that. It just makes it a little easier to mash. Mash these up nice and mushy, because these are going to be the primary liquid in your bars. You will add water and oil, but most of the liquid is from the bananas. Alright, so we got the bananas nice and mushed up. I need a 1/4 cup of coconut oil, and I found the best way to do this is I use hot water, just hot from the tap. It doesn't need to be boiling. I take 3/4 cup of water. If you've ever used coconut oil, you know that it is more solid than anything at room temperature, especially this time of year. So I'm going to scoop in. I scoop it in till the water level rises to 1 cup, and that should just about do me for a 1/4 cup here. Just a little bit more. I really like coconut oil. It adds a nice taste. It's a nice healthy oil alternative. It's easy to use. I don't know. I like it. There's the rest of my water. Total of 2 1/3 cups of water. Okay, I'm just going to kind of let this sit, let the coconut oil kind of melt up a little bit. Let's get the rest of these wet ingredients here. So I need about a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm a real pinch of this, dash of that type of cook. I've made this about 10 times. Never measured it all. Works fine for me. I like to use local honey. Not only does it support the local beekeepers, but you get those natural allergy remedies, a real nice taste. So you're going to add about 5 packets worth of regular sugar, or a couple spoonfuls of honey. Alright, so the coconut oil is coming down real nice. Those chunks that are still in there, they'll mix in when you start really mixing it all together. Mix all the wet ingredients. Okay, I'm going to get some of these last few lumps of coconut oil mushed down. Here's my dry ingredients. The last thing I do is put in the strawberries and blueberries. I don't want them to get mashed up. I really enjoy the way they cook, and when I eat them, when I eat the bars, they have a real nice tartness to them if they don't get broken up in the baking process or the mixing process. It's my personal preference. You can use whatever you want. You can use walnuts. You can use, some people use chocolate chips. It's really just how you want it to taste as far as what else you put in there. I prefer the fruit. I'm not a chocolate for breakfast gal. That's just me. Whatever floats your boat, whatever you enjoy. That's the beauty of this recipe. Alright. I'm going to stir this up. Then I'm going to add the strawberries and blueberries, give it a couple quick mixes, get it on the cookie sheet. We've got everything mixed up. That's what it looks like there. It's pretty viscous, and it'll bake up a little bit more firm than that. I do need to say though, these are not baking bars. They're not like cake. They are baked oatmeal. They're cooked just dry enough that you can hold it in your hand and eat it. But if you're expecting some sort of a cookie bar or something like that, this is not the recipe. This is handheld oatmeal. You can use a muffin tin. If you do that, I definitely recommend using the aluminum foil muffin holders, because if you use paper, it's still wet enough that this paper is going to get stuck to your oatmeal, especially if you freeze it and thaw it. I found that to be a real problem. So if you want to use the aluminum muffin cups, it does work really well. They are, however, a little expensive, so I've come up with this method for making these. It's working real well for me. I just take a cookie sheet here and line it with foil. I've got the oven set to 380 degrees. It's preheating right now. Okay, so pour this stuff out here. Make sure that your cookie sheet has a decent sized lip on it. This one's about 3/4 of an inch. Just kind of spread this out as even as possible. This does not rise. It doesn't melt into place. It's going to cook exactly how thick you have it spread, so you want to make sure it's even, because it's not going to even itself out. Like I said, this is not a cake batter. This is just oatmeal. So we got it nice and spread out. As you can see, this size recipe with the amount of fruit I put in there fits this size cookie sheet, a smaller cookie sheet, perfectly. It's I believe an 11 by 17. Something around those lines. Not really a chef. Once the oven is preheated, I'm going to throw these in for about 23 minutes. You're going to take a look. You want them to have a dry appearance across the top. If you can still see a shiny liquid reflection, you want to put them in for a little bit longer. You can also broil them right at the end to get a nice thick top. And that'll help when you cut it into a bar. It'll make it a little bit more palatable. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the oven, and when they're done, we will take another look, and I'll show you how I prepare them for storage. I baked this for 25 minutes at 380. I did a 1-minute broil at the end to try and crisp off the top a little bit. I'm going to let this cool absolutely completely. If you cut this up and put it in bags, or put your muffins in bags before it's completely cooled and it steams up at all, you'll get a lot of freezer burn when you put it in the freezer, and then that ice in the bag with it will melt and it makes it mushy. Doesn't make it dangerous or anything like that. It's just not as palatable. It's going to make 24 muffins. When I did muffins, I ate 2 a day, so I'm going to cut this into 12 even bars. I'm going to give you a close-up here of these delightful strawberries and blueberries. Some advice for some of my past experiences. When you do muffins, When you do muffins, you're just going to want to make it flat across the top. You're not going to overfill them. You just want a nice flat muffin. You'll make about 24 of these per batch. When I was using them for breakfast, I'd eat 2 muffins a day for breakfast. So knowing that, this is going to be 12 separate bars. I'm going to cut this up into 12 even bars, put them in my bags here, throw them in the freezer, and I'll just take one out the night before, put it in the fridge so it thaws in the morning, and then I can either eat it out of the bag directly, or maybe if I get to work, I'll pop it in the microwave for 15 seconds just to give it a nice warmth. Either way, it's just up to personal preference. I am looking forward to the next few weeks of breakfast. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and I hope that you enjoyed this recipe.